Yek aya yoxatini, tlakat Johan, artu yek wuchin khasati. Ya kawe, akatxatseo kakadusa achit hasati. Wait koa, we hastu yahaayí, Ḥwaayeenáḳ Ḥeixwnéi. Chanachawe asagu hastu Ḥwaayeenáḥ. Ya one qanins, Chanachawe at daat away ʼatángk Ḥwaayeenáḥ. Ka tlach ka ʼatángk ʼatángk at Ḥwaayeenáḥ. Ḥeixwnéi at ʼatángk ʼatángk. Ja, well, klingt renach yin kakwan. Ḥwaayeenáḥ, Chanachawe, Tléixʼ at owe, Kallis iqwa. Tléixʼ katuwa o shkuwan, klingt ʼatángk shkuwan yig. Yehasyawa ka achu da yi an kawu yechsati. Klingt ʼatángk ka klingt Ḥwaayeenáegi, ka klingt Ḥusti. Ya Chanachawe ya Aadé watani ya. Ḥeixwnéi koa. Who's the expert devil? Chanachawe at wushuk. Chanach at wushuk. Ya tlach hastu la'an. Tlach hastu yiqa chatu latish. Ya chosaku qanei hanachaska kwaati. Qahas yehas yauxaka. Kak kwaaq yichus itich aya. Kek kwatahani. Ganalchish litu. Ganalchish tikdeneji ane hayuqatangi da. Atlen atawe adaye jikachtune. Chu oya shashakit we uhan. Achawe shashakit hayisanuk. Ganalchish achtu yeke hasawasku wasashtiqachat wuddatiyen hastu ite. Wan qanins ayeha wutiyen kliktihin tlqut hini yahaayí yeha wutiyen ʼatángk wutisatin shakuk meqitl shukach ati ani aya tlqut aya wuti Ḥeixwnéi dukak qachtlein qahasu seidaya kingisi kuch Ḥeixwnéi qanaq hachantasu atsu guchdaku ish ʼatángk. Chanachawe has outlitu. Ya atlein ʼatángk atchwatulli yuch. Ya ha'atchai. We Tléixʼ hit klein kuwastien. Tléixʼ aye utiyayi dat. Aqa shashuyi hitki. Gwaldakun shukwa yanwaatk ayiye wuti. Tletzini qahat ayabu qa kawzetiki at wuke. Sha hastu yechsatitsu. Tletzini qahat qa kawzetiki at. Qa ayeko just Tléixʼ qaqi. Tléixʼ kawzetiki at Tléixʼ dasa. Adati ʼatángk. Qaqawe qoneit aya yekuk shad. Qaqawe yeqoti. Yewi tlingit Ḥusti. Aqaya we yatzineit. Chanachawe hadaye haswutiyen. Ya ha'atchai. Hechosaku wasadu sago at shed. يدوساق تلقاق إنخ قل أدخا هدكي تشاش تلين خسك تلشاش وصدوساق تشل أيا يدوساق يا تلش التين وتهاي تن هس أوليخ وكوزتيكي يا ياتينيد تخلتين تلسيدين هدي شو تانويخ هادي أقا أوي وكسيد ياتي كسيد أيا خواو تلتين تلسيني أدخليخ دي هوج وكاو دي أوخا قوة آتلين سكيدلز قا Ḳeixwnéi قيشة كتختسيو قاقوصات دوساق أساي أيا وتليخ بليش خاط تلقاقينخ أو تخقا يخ أو دنا وهان أخدي كرتخوت كنخينيك شدهيني أهدايي وتي ساعتي أدخا قيخ دكيدي قايز قيخ دكيدي قايي وتي أتود يا آتني أكخ زيت قوتتي ندايهين خكخ كنا أقا أوي كوخلوال كودودلوال ويوول قوشيات يكودي قيخ دكيدي أتود أقا قيخ دكيدي هين تاهي وتي تاهي قوتكي وأدخا أتويتي ودوتsa كشساي قستيتس قش شودي يدي تخ تلقاق إنخ بنجي كورس أكايي وتيين يأوي وتوجي وياتي نيد كشهد شك قطان ياتا like شلتي دين هيدي شو وطان تكتين يا يدت ويقوت كخ خلتيني كاق قوتي هاجيو قش إخوسكو خونسا قش كيدوشو جنكا شدهيني قوت قوتتي قشي سكو وان قنينز خنخوي ووch كتشك آتلين أدخ أوي أوسني وياتيني قد دوخوس كلين جن كلين تن ين كاودلياس أدا أوي ودكت شتكت ويقوت أقا أوي أنجز كهيني أدخوي أو يوسني قاوي تتسو أو توخ كشتكت أداودنا أتشيو ʻatángk يدوساق poem ʻXwaayeenáḳ أكوشخت daat أوي ياتينيد أدوسا هأدخاي أو خاي يأوي كالشيشة غيدي T'aawáხ وشي تواسقو لنجد غينخيو غيتاني قوختي هايكا قوشيجا
This Chunwen Yistalk Kuaha yahaayí dat Achue Kudachawe Huaha Chunwen at Hai Yahana Kunaki Adak Tis Aktuasigu Kukwata yahaayí dat Adak
شودت touch خط وجقا يأوي أخ أو شتو قانق أو شياخ دت touch خط وجقا Okay. Ilchish. Kakagartuni gweda. Okay. Seguwu yis dis taako. Washi yahaayí. Ilchish. Ye'awa ch'aak. Chonachoe dis daat away with dis chuchu. Yahaayí dat Gregorian hechosaku dasa daat. Just Ḳeixwnéi dis daat ʼatángk eka. Ch'aak oe haji ye wutien. Ka dekina hasu t'aawáḳ Dísi. Tléixʼ Dísi. Uhansu t'aawáḳ Dísi. Tléixʼ Dísi. Ḥexwa disku daat yaxsa eka. Gwatkasawe qane yewahi ka yan shutan with Tléixʼ ka itcha. Jinkat ka nask away disku wustien. Wega. Yahaayí dat jinkat ka deich. Helgadin chosaku daat. Gwallachtu asagu tsu yegachtu saniqwa. Hatagu konkian ayach. Gwall weta haji ye wutien. Gachtu saku. Dat yachsa we dis. Yahaayí dat kaguksa. Dis plain, dis shubu. Yistis. Yahaayí dat joya. Helgadin wutusaku yechwaji. Khataya ya. Ach yata ayacha nakaunik dat yachsa we dis. Ilchish. ʼakaduwaneegi gawu. Wooch. Translation time. What all was being said?
About breakfast? What?
There was food. Say it again.
Like a bear stealing all your food?
Yeah, we were at a language camp, and a bear ate our food, ate Skittles, bleach, eggs, and
Orange juice.
orange juice, yeah. Nora was most upset about the orange juice. Really liked orange juice, so she wrote a poem about it. I don't know where it is.
I heard a decent amount about Dick and Nora.
Yeah. I was looking at we brought a poster, and somebody gave me a poster of them. I think it was Ronaldo Queriente Brown, but I'm not sure. And I had it at my house, and then I brought it here, and I was looking at them before I hit the recording, and then I was just thinking about just how much fun they were, and sometimes he'd be real serious. He was a very intellectual person, but I think he wasn't. He was so fun, I think, for anybody to talk to, because some people can be really smart and academic and not always easy to talk to. That's not always the case, but for him, like, he was just so down to earth. And anyways, one time, but sometimes he liked to be real serious though, and he was being very serious, and it was a serious topic about the work they did to try and get Alaska Native languages, indigenous languages into schools and stories. And like when they started work in the 1970s, like that stuff was full on just banished from the schools, I think. And sometimes even our own people, but often people who weren't. He was real serious. He's like, and they would say it was the devil stuff. It was like something evil. And he was like being real serious. And then Nora was just sitting there, and she leans in. She goes, "Who's the expert devil?" And then she starts laughing so hard. She was so fun, and they were just such a really neat couple in terms of what they would bring. Like her ability to speak Tlingit at such an incredible level, and to have documented so many speakers, and to be engaged with them and get them to talk about really hardcore stuff. When she first started recording, Tlingit people didn't want to be recorded. Like there were a few, because De Laguna had, like Will Swanton had come here and recorded people with De Kinok, and then others. And then De Laguna came and recorded in Angoon and in Yakutat, probably the most stuff being in Yakutat. And I'll put a link in our class page to both the well, to the De Laguna stuff, because when De Laguna, one thing that I think she did a really great job with was hiring consultants and translators so that they would give summaries of the stuff that she was recording. And to be honest, it really helped us to translate some of those things because it was when you get into like Frank Italio territory and Frank Dick territory, like that's the thing, it gets difficult very fast. And so, but when she passed away, in her will, I think she had it declared like, give all these recordings back to the places where I got them. And so I was doing some work in Yakutat, and I had gotten some funding from the American Philosophical Society to go visit their collections and to learn a bit about digital collections. And which, does anybody know what the American Philosophical Society is? What it does? Somebody tell me anything about it. Where is it? Where did it start? Gugsahyeti.
Philadelphia.
Ah, yeah, oh, it's in Philadelphia. Adisa shukwa outlayich. Take the hin gwashwait sitsa ataka akawaduch katicha dutuasagu kashuk awashapi.
Ḳwaayeenáḳ.
Ah. Started by Benjamin Franklin, I think, according to what they told me. And they collect a lot of stuff. They have a lot of native language stuff there. My first my first encounter with them is we were working on Frank Italio recordings, and they were really difficult to hear. There's a lot of noise in these recordings. And then someone said, oh, well, they have the originals are in the American Philosophical Society, someone told me. So and they said, if you register, you can access their collections. And I was trying to register, and I wasn't quite figuring out how to do it. And then I'd written to someone, and I don't think I heard back. And they're really great people there. I went and met with some of them. But I met with a archival librarian that I know. I said, do you know anyone over there? He said, yeah, I know someone. I said, we're trying to get this recording. Could you just help us get it? Because we're translating all this stuff. And he wanted to write to this guy. His name was Bob. He's like, hello, Bob. They've been trying to get this recording for 2 weeks now. But can you help him out? But he made a little typo, and he wrote, hell, Bob, they've been trying to get these recordings for 2 weeks now. Can you help him out? And it was the greatest typo of all time. And when I told him about it, he just laughed. And he said, did it work? I was like, yeah, we got it in like 2 days. And he's like, all right, well, that's great. And so, anyways, flash forward a year or two later, I ended up going to Philadelphia, looking at their collections. And then I was in Yakutat, and I saw this guy who works there and helps coordinate a lot of their programs. I said, hey, what are you doing in Yakutat? And he said, well, we're bringing all the De Laguna stuff back to Yakutat. And then her estate also had money. And when they contacted us to see what they should do, I was like, well, we should build a little facility to keep these things safe in the communities where they're going back to. So, anyways, yeah, and then what else were we talking about? Anya Nachtla.
Yeah, I heard the word, I don't know if this was it, but Ţaawáḳ, somewhere in there, or Ţaawáḳ. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I feel like I've heard it a bunch of times.
Yeah, does anybody know what Ţaawáḳ is? It's an important word.
Sensitive?
Yeah, it's a sensitive subject, delicate subject. And it can be pretty serious. Like, so it means it's something that requires careful talking. Although one time I was inadvertently caught in a recorded funny story contest with a speaker. I didn't know that this was going to happen. So we're going back and forth on telling, because I think they wanted to just test out some recording stuff or something. I was in Vancouver. And then someone had the idea of, it was probably me. I was like, all these recordings are so serious. Can we do like something funny? And then I had read, okay, a student had given me this dissertation. I'm going to try and translate this story for you folks. Ḳeixwnéi dushyati duji yewutian. Uskayatu dushyati. Chitladi tuasakukoa tatayide wugudi. Ḳeixwnéi ḳeixdasa ye awu. Just kudasi claim. Kudasi claim. Ye awe du kiki ka aya. Hu owe wuta. Ya du daat koa yach kaudle yas yad yach kaudle khos yada yach. We do jeti ausetin kaye uwuji kuche dachuseti. Kakone owe akawa kwatlaya du daatsi. Ḳeixwnéi T'aawáḳ we ka we iti kanachawe awo chich we do jeti. Kakuchte katsu su akawa kwat su akawa no like su. Yeah, su akawa kwash. Yeah, awe. So it was an old dissertation. And in the dissertation, they're interviewing a Tlingit person. And he was saying some things are really funny in Tlingit, but they might not be funny in English. And so if anybody dares to translate it, we can walk through it. Ṭaíxʼ awe. One time, we ka dushyeti duji wuti.
Person had a kitten.
Yeah, someone had a kitten. Uskaya we dushyeti.
Very cute kitten, or a cute kitten.
Well, it's cute. It's also small. Yeah. Chitladi tuasagu wutai koa ķeixwnéi u.
He's not
Not
wearing
wearing
pants.
pants.
Yeah, when he wanted to go to sleep, he didn't wear pants. Just kudasi plain.
Just a big shirt.
Just a big shirt. Du kiki ka awe wuta. I think that's how you'd say that. He slept on his side. Now comes the ʼakaduwaneegi part. And I say this because when I was telling this story, when I got to this part, the elder that I was telling funny stories with said ʼakaduwaneegi, but he was laughing, right? So it's a serious word, but it also can be used in a funny context. Du daat yahaayí kaudle khwas. I think that's the verb.
Something funny.
His testicles were hanging down. We do sheti uwaji kuchetaxati. Or kuchetaxati. This is where he gets funny. But sensitive. The kitten thought it was a ball. Aqaqone owa akawakosh. And started to hit them. Hin kanachawe awa chitlestu T'aawáḳ. And he was trying to sleep, but he had to throw it across the room and come back and get right back to it. So, yeah, so ʼakaduwaneegi is sensitive.
What's to do with self testicles?
Dadzi.
Dadzi?
Mm-hmm.
Dadzi. I'd heard it as quat, or something like that.
What's that?
I heard it was quat or something.
It could be quat. It could also be dadzi. There are two
It's
different
just
words.
eggs, right? What?
There's two words for it, but both of them are actually other things. So dadzi is like pyrite or firestones, and then quat is eggs.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting body part because I don't think it has like a true name. It gets these implied names kind of.
Dadzi. Fire.
Anything else?
Like stones to start a fire with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, one more. Okay. That's gonna get canceled. Okay. Um, I met someone who has a, and this is sometimes okay. We have the Shukachadi have a name Tukte. I think it's a great name. I don't know if we'll ever give it to anyone, and that name might just die because it's rock butt. And and people, and part of this is like people really want their names to be like, I don't. There's a little bit of this Dances with Wolves kind of thing going on where like you want your name to be something really cool and mystical, I guess. So there is a Daklawadi name, Yeshdadzi, and someone was given that name. I was like, "Do you know what that name means?" He goes, "It's ravens like pyrite. They're firestones." That's full on in the chat now. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's a fun guy. He's a fun guy who got this name. And we're in Sitka. This was probably 8 years ago, 7. Staying in a house with Saul Neely and his family. And we're doing some language work. We're actually translating Kuhanti. And we're translating T'aawáḳ, the illustrated versions that we have. And Ṭaawáḳ was there. So I was like, I was talking to Joe. I was like, yeah, but it has another meaning. Do you know what the other meaning might be? And he said, no. I was like, all right. Ṭaawáḳ, dasoy tlekach enach du dadzi. If you know Ṭaawáḳ, he goes, his balls? Just like the way it was said. So it was so fun. And I was like, and so this is like deep dives into Tlingit language because this is the stuff that wasn't, and it's so interesting because Nation Story, I don't think would, maybe it's deep in their notes. De Laguna would write stuff, but like as far as like being like sort of a Puritan-based kind of culture, having these origins, sometimes there's embarrassment about body parts, and this bleeds over. Ḥwaayeenáḳ ʻatángk has this chapter on body parts, and I listed all of them because I thought it was good for people to know. And somebody told me to take out the embarrassing ones, and so I did, but I said, I was like, the Tlingit perspective on body parts is not the same. And they said, yeah, but it's going to go into like a junior high or high school, this book. I was like, well, so is the dictionary, like the English dictionary, is there some version of English dictionary that won't have any of those words? And so maybe I'll bring it back someday. So it's in the
It's funny
dictionary.
you mentioned
That's
the
it.
embarrassment about that stuff. Like in Swanton, there's like embarrassing passages in some of the stories. They were translated into Latin.
Oh, really?
They didn't translate it into English. Yeah, it was
Wow.
very weird.
Yeah, because I mean, some of these stories, there's like, there's wild stuff that goes on in some of these stories. So, yeah, well. Okay, good cheese. Oh, and then, I said, Sheochtet ach Tachchat ujakka. Sheochtet ach Tachchat ujakka.
Could chakka be like not big enough to kill you or not big enough?
Well, like, okay, so there is this verb mode which gets an aerialis, the conjugation prefix. I think it has a long high stem, and then qa at the end, like Aadé unatiqa, ukhke utiqa, igunika, and it is so it doesn't happen. So that's how you do that one. And so I was messing around with that one because I was driving. I was thinking about this time I was driving and I was very tired. And I would slap my face so I would stay awake. So, Sheochtet ach, I slapped my own face. Tachchat ujakka, so sleep wouldn't kill me. So I wouldn't fall asleep. Okay. And cheat wu lots of Chinese food. Which I just heard the Simshian classes will sometimes have Chinese food and then translate their fortune cookies. So we should have some night where everybody brings fortune cookies and we'll try and translate them. Some of them might be very, I don't know. We're moving from Fairbanks to Juneau, and some of my family was not happy about the move. Raising my younger brother, and he was going to go to his senior year of high school. We're just going to have a baby. And well, Mariah was, and my little brother's was this transition. It was something like, this transition will be very difficult for you. It was like very ominous. And then Mariah's was, you're going to have to do the most difficult thing you've ever done. And then mine was, boats are in your future. Have fun. So, it's so fun. Well, it's fun for me, I guess I should say. Okay. Anything else before we try our sentence generation drill? Okay, here we go. So we'll see how this works. There's this program, and if I swipe to the right, it should change photos. You'll have 1 minute to compose a sentence about it. Your sentence should be something significantly more than "this is a murrelet." That is right. So we are not in beginning Tlingit. So I'm looking for descriptive things. I'm looking for slightly narrative types of things. Do what you can. Here we go. And I'll put a link in the chat in case you want to write your sentences down on a shared document. Oh, okay. ʼatudli. Huh. I was looking at the weaving terms. Ḥeixwnéi. Anybody ready? Oh, okay. Gook. Ḥeixwnéi.
Ḥeixwnéi ach jiwo. Tléixʼ Nietzsche Xwaayú ka Tléixʼ T'aawáḳ as ach jintin achwe Tléixʼ ach ji.
Ḥaikúdzi. Ḥeixwnéi. Adusa, yeah, you did.
T'aawáḳ ach Tléixʼ.
Okay. Ḥeixwnéi. What's just ʼatángk? Tléixʼ ʼatángk. You get
So it's Sheikh Yachiti.
Ah. Yeah, well.
Hey, Daheen, Ḳa'xat Tléin, كخط يا تساو قوس توتين. Oh, damn. I forgot how to say the side of the road. But
T'aawáḳ.
yeah. We saw a bunch of free crab legs on the side of the road and we picked them up.
Okay.
I almost sent him home to eat it until I realized that's a bad idea.
Don't.
Oh.
They were fine.
Wait, so do walk ask katujin ask.
Okay.
That wasn't my sentence, by the way. That was pathetically trying to make up this one.
Book. Again.
ʼatléixʼ ka yahaayí. It's like, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What sound because it looks sad when I'm looking at it.
Okay. Again.
Wooch. Yahaayí. Tléixษ์.
Oh, okay.
T'aawáḳ. T'aawájí. T'aawájí. Or ʻakaduwaneegi. Ḥakaduwaneegi. Allergic.
Khat.
Oh, Wusina? No, Tléixษ์.
Well, yeah, you could say Ajit Khatqwana or. But there's a way to say Deq. Khat with the Deq, I think.
Oh, okay.
Subject to it. Xwaayeenáḳ. Khadi. Tlekakati. So again.
ʻakaduwaneegi. ʻaudli. ʻpudak'atlethin.
Okay. Yeah, well. Tracy T'aawáḳ. Aklein Dana. John, eat katsao, also Jew. Okay, gekko. Was just take the hint the katak, Xwaayeenáḳ, yug. Was Ḳeixwnéi na koyich usti, T'aawáḳ. Katay the hin ach, de kina hunch, a washat, a chatin, T'aawáḳ. Eat chaga? Can you win it? Yeah,
Well, what's it do south 1 billion? Ḥeixwnéi with 6 billion, whatever number it was. Remember when like 6 billion crabs went missing? I should have said that. Like they went, they got lost. Yeah.
Chocolate out, you do a sock with crab head. Yeah, why? Okay. Atuk kwashiwe. Tahini.
ʻōne,
Ah,
Cadéach Wantlain, Yakechanawe, Ach, Ach, T'aawáḳ, Mama Sean, Owe, Sagwan Owe, T'aawáḳ, Kirchquandach, Wadzinedi, T'aawáḳ.
yak a galchish.
Yike, orchish.
Oh, fuck. I just saw a good one.
Khadi.
Yeah, what?
T'aawáḳ dana dutwasiku tutakatgal.
Yeah, well. Lingi wani? Yeah, tata. Keen, yahaayí.
Wasadusaki ʼatudli.átk yahaayí ʻōne.
Kachini.
Che.
Taka gwashin hadaayí. Atiendekin. Yak. Keen. Kasiye. Asa de twasagu daat Ḥeixwnéi. Ḥeixwnéi dasa atuye kayani. Tléixʼ qustiyata. Tléixʼ Tléixʼ dunuk. Ḥeixwnéi. Tléixʼ dunuk. Ḥeixwnéi. I don't like the taste of it.
I just had a question about the sow. I was trying to ask Ḥунwák soa with T'aawáḳ. So if I want to say how many eyes does a crab have, is that how would
I guess you'd say ḥunwáqsayeti. I guess.
okay. Yeah.
I know because a three-legged dog came up when we were doing a class and test. I kept asking, how do you say three-legged dog?
Sorry.
And
Gotta
they said,
mute.
Naskhusyeti. So then I would think ḥunwáqsayeti. Oh, not yeyeti. ḥunwáqsayeti. Wait, ow. I don't think you'd have to say ka or ya or anything like that. You just say, how many eyes are there?
Cheesh.
Dechege? Isege?
Dachun this way Google
Hintak kanazati. Yeah, well, kanazat keshkakwacha. Hintak kanazati. Ya achuni ko akwam adach coconuts au hasujiu. Ya Tléixʼ we koyao dahai chasatin tamator. We moana you do a sak with koyao dahai. Coconuts au aya kach yagi. Do in kach when ik ach kauch Tléixʼ. It was ʼatángk wachich. Ḥeḥatqua.
Kudach kayani awe tachinka.
Achati. Okay. How's that say?
Ushkanagu.
Just
Oh,
Tahini katehu kuka.
Gwashkiwe, yak. Yatatsu hosatin. Bezo uwa. Yatakacha hechasaku gwashkiwe. Kushtanaku.
Nitin Quains Huasi.
Okay.
Seganan shakte tahini kakwa'i kakwa'i
Kakwasa'i.
kakwasa'i kas agadli ka wasusli ka barley ka onions I tut
Oh,
tutaya
Ātsk.
Shakte Seganen Hatsu Ku 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 Kasa I Tahini.
Okay. Ta'aváḳ katuasagu. Tahini duchechi. It's okay, yeah.
Kág tahini yak duchaí Ḥwaayeenáಗೂ.
Yeah, wow.
Islint chuích tahini hach kunachyak
Kecha.
Ach eat yan uaha tahini ʼatángk. But then I'm wondering, should one of those be the where it's got the woo or something on the end?
Well, the way that was, because like they're two different. It's like you combine them with a semicolon if you wanted to, and so none of
Okay.
them were directly tied. But if you could say ʼatángk ḥwaayí, that's how you would have that. ʼatángk ḥwaayí. Okay. Tsuk again. ETA.
This Kidane Wixloon Xwaayeenáḳ T'aawáḳ.
We glee good. Ḥwaayí. Yeah. What's that fish that they have up? It's up north, but not really in Tlingit country. But it's eaten. They served it at a language gathering in Whitehorse. Oh, what is it called? It's some kind of Arctic char. And I was trying to find a name for it. And I didn't see a name in any of the notes. And Nachahash was there, who he could tell better jokes than me. Ho'owe, Ḥwaayénáḳ. Wasat do a sock Arctic char Ḥwaayénáḳ. thought for a long time. He said, well, I don't think there's a name for it, but we can call it saqut, which means without a name. And I laughed so hard. I should put it in the dictionary. It's so funny. Okay. So dliqut would be, no, without meat. Qut. So for Tlingit, teen or tin or een is with, but you don't say Tléixʼ du een or Tléixʼ. I mean, you can, but you'd usually switch to just without. So I'd say Tléixʼ Aadé I gutrik ach qut. Don't go there without me. Ach katich aqut, ach hiti yidach wakut. I left my house without my keys. Okay. Karkatsuk kwalkiwe. You can substitute the pronoun for this one if you want to. You got one?
Yis shawat city yauchtigi achlu.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
ʼakáduwaneegi, ʼatángk.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure mine makes sense at all if I'm using this verb correctly, but ʼatángk daat yahaayí.
Oh, to change colors?
Yeah.
It's usually just for salmon.
Okay.
But if your nose went up the fresh water and changed colors, that would work. It's usually a verb like specifically like when they change and they go up the fresh water.
Because ʼakáduwaneegi was a freshwater salmon.
So it ʼatángk. But you could say ʼatángk. And if your nose changed colors, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
ʼatángk. So the Ḥwaśnéi, I think like so if you look in some of the other dictionaries, I think Ḥwaśnéi is I smelled it. And then I think ḥwaśnéi is I smelled for it. It took me a while I had to test that one out. I think with Anish Lahash when we figured it out.
Trying to figure out how to say it stuffed. Nose is stuffy or running, and I can't find anything.
To say it started running, like my nose was running?
Yeah, nose is running or it's stuffy.
Heen achlut kawada would be, and you just say water is running from my nose. Even though you could say Tléixʼ if you wanted to specify, but you'd usually say, because it kind of depends. Like sometimes your nose will just sort of drip if it's like cold or something, and that would be heen achlut kawada. But then T'aawáḳ achlut kawada, if you wanted to specify, like, you got a snotty nose. And then you could say achl, I think you'd say kauzadik is plugged. Kauzadik is plugged up.
I had ʼtáawáḳ dúshlú kus. It drips all winter.
Yeah.
Lady away, shak iat, chatsati, ach, eek, ach, do, ʼatángk, do Montreal Canadian hockey stick team.
Oh, how? Yahaayí. Kauzadik. Yeah, oh, kauzadik. I think you end up, when you put nooch onto something, I don't know exactly how it works, but it goes minus I. So you'd say ʼatángk nooch, or ʼatángk, but then you say ʼaká nooch. So you'd say Ḥwaayeenáḳ. I think you'd say Ḥwaayeenáḳ nooch. I'll have to check, I'll check into that, see if I can find out like a solid rule for that. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Let's see. Wanganeen's at yahaayí portrait, Wooch, Shluch kunach tich Ḥwaayeenáḳ.
Okay.
The cut. Teeth.
Okay.
Pinocchio ʼatángk, a'achsú ʼaéich ʼakaná.
Ḥwaayeenáḳ. Okay. Shishuku. Question yisaku awa yisku. A data where you has out ʼatk. Adisa du tawasaku. Huchi ayi we du hlut awa shi du idekakwaha. Ḳeixwnéi and ʼatángk dehin yeutusane. Adusa yeka kwasane. Echallakatas has du hlut has awa shi. Khatqa akechatwutien. Kan achtuye wuti. Ajoye yachsaka. Llukach adi awe ohan. Llukach yaha wuti chucha gudach. Joy tlesheka kwasane. Ekashkalni gaya. Okay. Gulchish, Johan. How was it? Putting sentences together on the spots? I like it because they're familiar verbs, and that gives us a chance to just practice spontaneous language production, which I think can be tricky sometimes, but is good for you. We'll try it again. I think it just pulls up random photos. Everything that's in the beginning can get workbook, so maybe we'll get a nukt, maybe we'll get a hicht. Okay, so let's, there's one more phrase, I think, that we didn't get to. This one is just as important, but maybe it has a few less grammar keuchituku ut. So can I get someone to read this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yikuayakwan. Yilil has ka. Yed has wusiach. Yidat. Yikuayakwan. Kone tu atitsu. Yikuayakwan. Huhan aya halil kuhas hastu itr yantu at yiguaya kwan kat yohan.
Okay. Cheshi Will Geiger helped a lot to write down what she was saying, and as we talked through the translation, Shkateh was one of my language teachers and just one of my favorite humans. We won't analyze yiguayakwan. It does come from some sort of verbal phrase. In the interest of time, we'll go straight to the verb phrases we can analyze, starting with this one. There is these things around it. So one thing is we could practice like finding the verb phrase. And so for the verb phrase, I like to think of it as everything you need to fully understand that verb. Like there's additional information there telling you who, telling you when, but that's supplemental information. Like I like to get down to like, you cannot take any of these things away without like the verb becomes very like maybe impossible to really analyze. And so this is the stuff that you need. We do have that other sheet, which I did like using, but in the interest of time, we're just going to use this one. We're going to do the short form where we could fill it out ourselves. So is there anything in the preverb?
Ye.
It has.
Okay. Is there an object?
It has to be 0 because there's a hus.
There is a hus, but there can't. If there is a third person subject here, so there cannot be an object. And plus, I could just tell you, this has an indirect object, which is this. So that means like there is a spot for the object pronoun, but sometimes it says it's doing it to this thing. Sometimes that object just goes away and it just becomes what we call an indirect object, which means it's a noun that sits outside. And that's the case when sometimes you have du'in, in this case du'chait, du'jit. And sometimes you can have an indirect object and an object. I gave it to them. I told it to them. I told on you to them. Like those ones would have both, but this particular verb is a subject only. So there's no thematic stuff. Conjugation stuff, what's in there?
You.
Subject?
No.
Classifier? Which, yeah, we can write as CLS, comma, I. And so I like to say D if it's there, comma, group, comma, I if it's there. Stem, we're just looking at the vowel.
Short and long.
Short and high. Verb mode? Perfective.
Perfective.
Translation?
They're listening to you.
Say it again.
They are listening to you, to your mouth.
To your mouth.
Yes, but we need some plurals.
They're listening to you all.
They're listening to y'all's mouths.
They all, I'm sorry.
Yes. They all are listening to you all. And so we do have to push the English to get a little bit like more descriptive, but that's simply so we could see all those parts that are in there. And so if I were to say, I am listening to you, How would I say that?
To you or to y'all?
To you, singular you.
Ich has
Hate.
We all are listening to you all.
Hate.
Yuchsiat.
We all. We all.
Oh.
Wutusiach.
You all are listening to us all.
Hachit.
Hate.
Tusiach. Or no.
Yisiach.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff.
Ḳeixwnéi, what's why would she say Kate instead of sa? Or what's the difference there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you could say yi has ʼatewáḳ, which would be they all hear your voice. And this is, so the difference is hear and listen. So it's sort of like, oh yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but are you listening to me? Like, I don't know, like this could be two individuals, it could be a couple fighting, maybe, or it could be like talking to your kids, and so it has to do with like just how active the thing is, right? And so it's like I hear somebody talking, or I hear you talking, and then I am listening to you. But this could also be interpreted as obeying. But usually I would say the default meaning is to listen, right?
Jeez.
How would you know that it's obeying over listening? Is it contextual?
Yeah. And so, but if you needed to, like say, for example, well, it's happened today. There's a little miscommunication. We have a typical process of picking up children at the school, and that process is the children ask if they could play at the playground for a little bit, and usually it's a yes or no type of thing. Maybe today nobody asked, they just went and played, and maybe somebody drove off with the other child. Maybe, theoretically. And so in the case like you were given instructions, you would say, I want you to listen to me, and then I want you to do it the way I say. So you would put emphasis on that. And so a lot of times, if you wanted to say obey, you would say ʼayach ye'awsene. They did it as they were told. But in this case too, it depends. Like like if again kids or dogs, or things that you command regularly, if they're sort of running around not listening, you say ʼaqaita'ach, listen to me, right? Ooh. Preverb? Oh, well, yeah, let's just go to it. Ḳeixwnéi. This verb has no object, is a subject only. Most motion verbs are subject only. Some of them aren't. There's no thematic. There are two things here. The plot twist, bum, bum, bum. There is a qa. And since that's in slot number 4, there's something before. There's only one thing it can be, because everything else would have a different combination. Here's your, so you would say Aadé, Wooch, but you would say Ḥeixwnéi, Wooch. There's your big hint. Well, if there was qa, you would have qaqa. If you have qa and qa, you have to have, like you say, qaqasti, qaqash, qaqashashat.
I feel like there's a Urialis in the conjugation.
There's not, or else it'd be a W. But there is a zero. This is a zero verb. So wu'at is na, uwa'at is zero. That's why you get uwa. That is also why you get a short high. So a perfective closed, if it's short and high, it's going to be a zero, unless it's one that doesn't change at all. What's the subject? Classifier?
No.
Stem.
Long, low.
Long and long.
Verb, huh?
We have a post verb, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Thank you.
And also a suffix.
I'm actually going to chop the tsu off of there. Because it's just saying also, right?
That's a hortative, right?
It is. I think it might be subordinative, but it is a hortative. So you would say, ʼatudli.átk. That is how you say, let's get going. ʼatudli.átk. So this one, it's a wild one. Usually when you're having these, like you'd say, ʼatqatu, cha, let's eat. Right, so these hortatives, like we're going to start to see them, we're going to start to recognize them, we're also going to start learning how to put them together. But here, like a vowel, like so you could say zisk, li, to, ha. So that vowel would also trigger this contraction. Right, so it's triggering an extra contraction, and that's why you've got tu, which is a little bit wild, but we're okay. We can handle wild stuff. Yahaayí at Ḥeixwnéi daat.
So then the ga turns into a
Yes.
That way they can okay.
So if ga contracts, it will pull the vowel, and then you'll get which is why there's a whole bunch of futures that have gachtu, gachdu, those types of things, because that is exactly what's going on. Is that vowel gets pulled, turns into an underlined X. It is a very constant rule of contraction. With ga, if you pull the vowel, you get the letter K. So when we come back, yahaayí, have strength and courage, be brave, however you want to translate that.
Was the I in ʼxwaayeenáḳ the thing that triggered the X in this case?
Well, it's just the vowel. Like this is one vowel. But it is that
Okay.
vowel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, kunashi.
Yep.
And does that always boot the vowel out of the conjugation, out of whatever the first thing is?
That if there's a vowel before the verb, it will count as a prefix type of thing. It will affect the prefix. And so we do see that because you could say, so if ʼxwaayeenáḳ is let's go. So ʼxwaayeenáḳ. Well, you can't really say ʼneishqatu'at. I don't think you could say that because you'd have to be inside. You'd say hit yich to át. Let's go inside. But a lot of these, so we recognize the na conjugation form of this a lot more. Like, so you could say, gan de nach to át. Right, so you're going to get that nach to, because it's a na conjugation. But this, with ḥeixwnéi in front of it, there's this set of things I like to call them like a motion preverb. So it tells you what kind of motion it is. De, dach, nach, like hot, so that T. And there's a set of them that are na conjugation. So your na conjugations are going to be dach, de, nach, and then at, which means to go around. So all of those are going to be na. 0 is going to be neich, ḥeixwnéi, and then something that ends with a T. So you could say hit ʼuagut. They went to the house. They got there. There's the only thing, there are some that are generally upwards. Well, I guess you'd say ya, ga, like, I don't know how to, this one is a little bit special. So you say ya ga gu. That means like get walking. It means just to walk. Ya ga gu, ya ga y'all walk. And so there is this ya ga one, but I think the most common one here is probably kut, to be lost. So you could tell someone kut ga gu, get lost, but that's a lot more serious than get lost, pal. And it means like literally go disappear. Right? Which maybe, I don't know, it's up to you. And then there's not a whole lot of qa ones. There are like generally downward and upward. You could say those ones. I guess this one, the one I guess you could say is a yikt qagu. So it's to get into a car or into a boat. You do use qa for that. It's a downward type of thing. And even though if the boat, you're going up into the boat or whatever, you'd still say qa for that one. Okay, but we're past time, so. Hastu itch yan to at. So we won't pull that one apart, but we should be able to see this is a progressive. We've got ya and the preverb. Hastu itch is also, that needs to be in the preverb. This is to follow. So be brave. Your grandparents, you see, they are listening to you now. Be brave. Let's start walking too. Be brave. It is us, our ancestors. We are following them. We're walking after them. Be brave, all of you all. This was the closing lines of about a 3-minute speech, I think. I asked her what learners need to stay motivated, to believe in themselves, and she's made this wonderful speech, and it ended with this. It was a bit of a chant, the way that she said it. It was really neat. It was one of the last conversations I had with her, and she let me record her with a little audio recorder that I had. So she was a big, bright, shining light. She was a lot of fun. Anything before we go? And also, we're out of time. Okay. Tuesday, we'll do more sentences. We did all those translations. We're going to do something a little different. I'm going to show you, I'll put up, maybe I did it already. I did a different style of workbook. I adjusted a little bit for Kahanti. I'm going to do the same thing for Yeich Kakudutan Kihiti. We also have Kutz Ayakutlikati Shawat. And then we have Yeich Kata. So there are 4 of these illustrated books that are out. I'll make sure that everybody has opportunities to get some of those. I'll find a contact. If only somebody was around here who worked at the Gold Belt Heritage Foundation and could help us get books If only there was someone around us like that. But I think they are going to take over maybe some of the distribution. We are going to get, I guess, something to think about over the weekend. And maybe just send me an email if you've got a thought. We are also going to do some high quality printing of the dictionary, the conjugator, the themes, the book of themes, and ʼatángk, ʼatángk, and eventually the verb conjugation handbook and the verb conjugation book. But we're moving away from the current method of on-demand publishing and just like going for it. So there's lots of options in terms of what kind of paper. Would you want hardback or would you want a soft cover? Ideally, these are going to be made freely available for those who are in the program, and then there'll be ways for other people to purchase it. It's exciting. It's probably something that's going to happen maybe by the end of the semester. I don't know how long this stuff goes, but I have tons of, makes me nervous because I want to put everything in the dictionary, but I can't do it fast enough. The conjugator will have spiral binding and I think a cover. I think the dictionary will be the sewn and glue binding. There's a battle going on now between the hardback ʻku'u versus the soft cover ʻku'u. So we'll have a thumb wrestling death match and see what happens. But also, we'll probably do both, and we'll just have both of them available. And we will be able to sort of field test some of these, but if you have specific thoughts or requests, send me an email, or we can chat about it on Tuesday. Maybe I'll bring some samples in here. I know you folks online won't, well, I'll hold it up to the camera or something, but it's one of those things where there's too many options, so I don't know what to do, but it's exciting. It'll be fun. Yahweh, Gunchish.
Gunchish.
Nashchish Yuhan.
Ish.
Cheese.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
The question thing.